So today on K-Talk Radio's show, we actually will have a returning guest by the name of Jeff Breglio, who's a real estate attorney. And today you're in for a special treat because we're going to actually try something new. What we're going to be doing is we are going to be going through the progression of a real estate transaction, a flip. And it's actually one that Jeff and I did together. So basically we're going to talk about everything on that particular flip, from how we found it, to how we funded it, to how we renovated, the stories on the eviction of the people that live there. We're going to go through every single step. So if you've ever wondered how to fix and flip a house, we'll be sharing with you exactly what happened on this particular transaction, what we purchased it for, what we sold it for, how much the renovations cost, how we, like I said, acquired it. And so you're definitely going to want to stay tuned to today's show because basically we're going to be going through the transaction from A to Z.
Ready?
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. It is Saturday morning. You are listening to K-Talk Radio, 1640 AM. This is the show, Utah Home Sweet Home. I am your host, Yoshi Shiraki. And today we have Jeff Breglio, my friend.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, my attorney, my friend. More importantly, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely.
On the show,
always top of the list.
That's right. That's right. As my guest today, and we're going to do something very special for you guys today. I had a lot of people ask me questions on flipping houses, and I've had tons and tons of conversations with new investors and just other investors in general in regards to a flip transaction. And so what Jeff and I decided to do today was basically flipping from A to Z. We're going to go through everything.
Everything. One deal, A to Z, beginning to end.
Yes. How we found it, how we funded it, how we
negotiated it,
the stories,
what we did to it, how we liquidated it.
Yep.
And what we finally ended up on it.
Exactly. So stay tuned. It's definitely going to be a very fun show. You're going to hear everything, all the challenges that we ran into.
Fun stuff.
Police were involved.
Meth heads.
Yes.
Fake delivery boys.
Yes. So pay attention because this is what a flip looks like. You watch a lot of these shows and they don't necessarily show you all the dirt. I mean, they only have 30 minutes to show you an entire project. So
that's right.
Granted, you don't get to hear all the dirt, but we're going to go through everything. So without further ado, we're going to dive right into this. Jeff, I'm going to ask you to start the story from your best memory, and then maybe I'll kind of jump in with my memory, the things that I remember as well. But how did we come across this? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was actually an associate of mine. What we would probably call a wholesaler.
Yeah.
He was a newer investor.
Yep.
Sort of before the days we called wholesaling. But he had done a lot of flyers, marketing, to find a deal. And he found the deal and negotiated with the seller through flyers. So that was sort of how, I don't remember if it was door markings, like door hangings, or if he actually did a mailer.
It was a mailer, yeah.
Yeah, it was a mailer. So he found the seller, and the seller was a woman, single woman, and her son lived in the house.
Yes.
And her son was a meth head.
Yes.
And they didn't get along. He wasn't paying her her rent. She couldn't afford the house anymore. She wanted to just dump it. So he locked in a contract before we were involved at $60,000 as a purchase price.
Yes.
And this property was in the Fair Park area of Salt Lake City.
Yes. And this mother did not live at the house.
She did not live at it. So it was a rental.
There was a rental to her son.
Who
never paid her rent.
Because he was a meth head.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I remember.
And when you hear that kind of stuff, you're like, ooh, that's a deal.
Yes. And it was over a year, she said, that her son hadn't paid.
That's right. Yeah. And so she was really frustrated, and she wanted to unload it, and she wanted somebody else to deal with her son. She couldn't evict her own son.
Right.
And throw him out on the street.
Right.
So she wanted to sell the house. So he locked her the contract, and he brought it to me. I mean, having some experience in real estate, I suppose. He came to me, and he first looked to wholesale it to me, and he wanted a wholesale fee of $10,000. Right?
Yes.
And I said, that's great, and generally on my flips, I partner with people. That's kind of my business model for flips. I don't get hands-on in the flips. So I called up my dear friend Yoshi, who's an amazing flipper.
Thank you.
Hey, Yoshi, I've got this deal that came across my desk, and he's got it under contract for $60,000, and he wants it for a $10,000 wholesale fee. So we started analyzing the deal.
Yep.
Right? not a lot of profit margin at that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So what we did is we discussed with this associate, the wholesaler, said, hey, you're a newer investor. How about you take your wholesale fee on the back end, and you can be part of the project, and we will walk you through the steps of a flip, and you know how to do it. You can learn.
Yeah, yeah. And this was probably, 6 years ago-ish?
This is about 6 years ago. This was a while ago.
So 60,000 wasn't inconceivable to find a house.
That's right.
In this area.
That's right. In that area at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the next thing we did, and he agreed to that. Yeah. And so we needed to get a lower purchase price.
Yes, because we needed to test for something.
Yes. Well, we needed to make the numbers work a little bit better. We wanted more profits. We needed a lower purchase price. So do you remember how we got a lower purchase price on this?
I remember he did a test, but the story of how he did the test was new to me until yesterday.
Because you remember
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Well, we knew the tenant was a meth head.
Yes.
Right. So we were almost certain the house would test positive for meth.
Right.
And so this wholesaler, my associate, posed as a pizza delivery boy. He went to Domino's and picked up a pizza, went to the house and said, hey, I'm here to deliver your pizza. And the guy answered the door. He's like, well, we didn't order a pizza.
But took it.
And he's like, oh, no. Well, can I, it was really cold or something, so can I come in, call my boss, and see where I'm supposed to deliver this pizza to?
Yeah.
And the guy's like, oh, okay. So he gets in the house, puts the pizza on the kitchen counter, and while he's pretending to talk on the phone to the pizza place, he's taking a swab of the wall in the kitchen. And then he's like, hey, we don't know where this pizza's supposed to go, so you can have it. He left the pizza with the meth head, who was probably very happy for dinner.
Right.
And then we took the meth head test in, and it tested positive for meth.
Yes. I remember there was something sneaky because the seller, which is the mother of the tenant, said that, you're going to have to buy my house sight unseen because there's no way my son's going to let you in.
That's right. You couldn't get in to inspect the house.
Exactly.
That's right.
My son doesn't want me to sell the house because he enjoy living there for free. So
we had to get in somehow.
Yeah.
And so he posed as a Domino's pizza guy.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and then we had him go back to the seller, and what price did we finally get the house for? $30,000. We picked up that property for $30,000.
Yes.
That's free.
That's free. Yes, exactly. And what was fantastic about the whole thing is when it tested positive for meth, he went back to renegotiate, but he went back because he was newer. He didn't know how much to lower the price, right? And so he was the perfect because I know how much it costs to remediate meth.
And how much was it?
$5,000.
$5,000.
Yeah. So I would have probably gone in there and started at 10.
Yeah.
And then worked my way down and covered the 5, right? And because he didn't know that, and he was so terrified of the word meth that he went back and
so
asked
was
for
the seller.
Yeah. Went back and asked for a $30,000 discount.
I know.
And the seller said yes. And when he told me that, which was after the fact, I was mind blown.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to send you to all my meth renegotiations.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, the seller was in dire straits. I don't want to say like we took advantage of anybody.
Sure.
She could not afford the house. She was not making the payments. Yep. She could have lost it.
Oh, yeah.
She did not want to evict her son because that would make her feel bad to actually evict her own child and throw her child on the street. But at the same time, he was a meth head and ruining her life. And she needed a solution. And we came in and provided a solution in a way that created a profit margin that made the deal doable.
Absolutely. And in fact, she was actually losing a lot of money because her son had such a mess in the yard that the city was finding them an astronomical amount every single month. And if I remember correctly, that amount, I think we might have had to negotiate that too, because that amount was actually almost higher than what she owed on the house.
Yeah.
So between her son not paying, and when we say son, just to paint the picture, he was in his 40s.
Yeah.
Okay, so like someone's listening and a mom.
Like a 21-year-old.
Yeah, that was not the case. This guy, and he had a wife, and between the two of them, they decided they weren't going to pay the mom rent. And so you had two 40-year-olds who were very capable of, adults, very capable of working. And so this lady, I remember she was telling your associate that, it was really funny that your associate told me, she told me that if I could put that son back where he came from, I would. He's been such a headache of a child in the last 20, 30 years.
So she was very happy.
Very happy, yes. And it was amazing that, what I loved about that story is this was his first transaction, but he just took action. right?
Yeah.
So this particular wholesaler, very first transaction,
Yeah.
heard that you should send mailers. So he did.
He just did it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Got a couple phone calls. Some didn't pan out. This one did.
And he went to the house. He
Yes.
talked to the seller.
Talked to the seller.
Establishing a relationship with her.
Exactly. And then, didn't even know what he was doing in the negotiation, which in this case turned out to be a good thing.
Yeah.
He ended up getting significantly less than I would have gotten it for. and it was very a profitable one, and especially back then when wholesale fees were probably on an average $3,000 to $5,000.
Yeah, they
he was
really
making
were.
10, and he got to. He wanted to learn the process of flipping.
Be part of a deal.
Exactly. Got to be part of the deal, not just get paid off and then off he goes. He got to come see the project. We shared with him how, what we did and the reasons why we did it, and then the steps that we did it, where, how we did it, all that stuff. So he learned a lot.
A lot, yeah. It's a fantastic deal for a new investor to partner or be part of a deal with a more experienced investor. It's worth taking a little bit less and learning, because that learning is more valuable than the extra $1,000 you might make.
Exactly. And in this case, he didn't necessarily take less. What he just did is he waited for the back end. So we could have given him 10 up front, but then he decided to wait. In trade, we would pay him when we got paid, but then he got to learn the process. So if you're out there and you're kind of a newer investor and you find a good opportunity, this might be a good way for you to actually have a flipper educate you through the whole process by saying, hey, listen, this is my wholesale fee, but if you pay me on the back end, I'd be willing to wait. In return, you teach me...
For learning.
Exactly, for learning through this project.
Absolutely.
So smart.
Very smart.
Yeah.
So we had under contract $30,000. How did we fund it? How did we acquire this property?
Yes. So we basically had a first hard money loan, which...
So a local hard money lender.
A local hard money lender.
Relationships with.
Exactly. And then basically, after that, we then funded the renovations through you.
You me, yes.
You
so hard money loan at, I think, 2 and 12.
Yep.
Typical hard money loan here in town from a local hard money lender for the purchase price.
Exactly.
We got 100% financing.
Yes.
On a $30,000 purchase, most hard money lenders are probably okay with 100% financing.
Exactly. I remember the hard money lender laughing out loud when I told them the purchase price.
Yeah, I remember that too.
Yeah.
Maybe we should have him on the show one day.
Yes. Hashtag MMFA if you're listening.
Okay, so we got to closing, bought the house. I put up the funds, my own cash. And and our rehab budget was what?
We had set a budget of about 25 to 30.
Yeah.
There was a couple things that were unknown. The back half, it wasn't half, a back portion of the house, which was a small little kitchen, had no foundation.
Yeah, that was a surprise.
Yep.
And in a rehab, be prepared for the surprises.
Yes.
There's going to be something that jumped. You're like, holy crap, I didn't even know that existed. And we only got in through the wholesaler who just saw the house. That's the only time we were inside the house.
Yeah.
Was when he was pretending to be the pizza guy.
Yeah.
And then we discovered no foundation.
Exactly. And when we say we got in the house, really, he just got in the house. You and I weren't there.
We never saw the inside of that property.
Exactly.
Even pictures.
Yeah, he couldn't take pictures or anything. That's right.
But at $30,000, I'm buying the house.
Exactly. It's worth the risk.
That's right.
That's right. So now we're under contract on this, and obviously we are going to be buying it, which means we're going to be the new owner, which means we're going to be needing to evict the tenant. Yes.
That's right.
Because the mother was dying to have her son evicted, which again she couldn't do it because it was her own kid. So we then this individual learned the day that we acquired the property because the mother informed him. She didn't want him to know at any point until after it closed because she felt
after we owned the house.
Yes, she was afraid he'd sabotage the deal somehow, and she really wanted to sell it.
Right.
So once we closed on it and we owned it, she notified him, but then you and I actually went and served him
We put the notice on the 3-day pay or vacate on the door and took a picture of us putting it on the door.
Yes, at which he was home and I opened it. Do you remember?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I think I stayed in the car. I think I was a little bit scared. I think I'm like, I'll let Yoshi go up to the door of this meth head and knock on it.
So we actually we went together. So just to refresh your memory.
Did I go up to the door?
Well, I was taping, I think, and you were taking a picture of me. And then he opened it, right? And then...
we're evicting you.
Yes.
How long did it take us to evict?
It took a while because he refused to move.
Right.
We had to get the constable and the sheriff involved.
Well, we didn't buy the house at the end of the month, and you have to do the 15-day
That's right.
notice, and then the end of the month after the 15 days are up.
Yes.
So because we got the property towards the end of the month, that 15 days ended up in the next month, which I think at this point was May. So we had to wait till the end of May to actually start the eviction, and the eviction took a couple of weeks. So then we're into June, and then he wouldn't leave, and we had to wait, and we had to get the cops to kick him out.
Yes, but he showed up in court, remember, which prolonged it. He fought it.
He did try and fight it. He ended up losing, but
he showed up with a piece of paper that was handwritten that basically said "I," and then it was his mom's name. Allow my son to live here for free forever, right? Or something like that. And he backdated it, and of course the judge didn't buy that was really his mom's signature, and he didn't buy that was backdated, and so that actually pushed everything back. But I remember when he opened the door, you'd asked him, "Hi, just you're aware we're the new owners. How you doing?" And then I remember him going, "Not good." That's how I remember. That's why I remember we were both there, because you'd asked him, "How you doing?"
Oh,
just it was because that's a normal
me
question.
trying to be the peacemaker.
Yeah, that's right. And and we were very nice to him. We said, "Listen, we even offered to
cash for keys.
Yeah,
we did. We tried cash for keys.
Pay him to leave because that's cheaper in many cases than
and faster than an eviction.
Than the eviction, paying an attorney, going to court. So he basically turned down the cash for keys. So then we shared with him, "Well, we're really sorry, but we're going to have to we're going to have to evict you. Our plans are to remodel the home. It needs to be vacant, and so you've got some time though, because And we were fair with him on how much time we kind of gave him an expectation. This is how long it's going to take us. In the meantime, if you can be looking for a place," which of course he didn't.
No.
Yeah.
Because after the 2.5 months, and we actually got him out.
Yes.
And we waited the 2 weeks to remove all of his junk.
Yes.
And we start the rehab. What does he do after that?
Breaks in over and over.
To live there at night.
Yes, yes. And then this was funny because, so once we got once the judge gave us the we won in court, and the judge awarded us the lockout. So the lockout is when now a sheriff goes, escorts the person out, and then we change the locks and lock him out. And so you were busy at work that day, so I had to go do the lockout. And the contractor was on another project, because I would have sent the contractor, because I am not handy. I was like, I don't even know how to change a lock.
I know, neither do I.
So the constable, I meet the constable there, and the constable tells me, "All right, listen," he got a full bulletproof vest, gun on his hip, and he's like, "Okay, why don't you wait out here? I'm going to go in first, clear the property. If he's there, we'll get him out. If he's not there, then I'm going to have you change the locks." I was like, "Great." So he goes in, clears the property. The door was unlocked. He knew we were coming because he had the notifications that,
of the date.
Of the date, exactly. And the constable comes out, and he's holding a piece of paper. He goes, "So there's a note he left for you." And it said, "Please don't lock us out." I don't know if I ever told you.
No, I don't think I knew this.
Yeah, and the constable...
Please don't lock us out.
Yes, because he knew it was the lockout date. And so the constable goes, "Well, he's not home, but he left you a note that says, 'Please don't lock us out.'" So he goes, "Why don't you go in? I'm going to stand here at the front door, and you change the lock." Well, there were 3... This is the first time I've been in the house. There were 3 exits, and so I was prepared for 2.
I remember that.
And I had no idea there was a third door, so I didn't have a third lock. So I was like, "Well, I'll just push the sofa against this door." That's how he kept getting in. And he had a big dog door, right? And
I remember the dog. We had to board the dog door.
Yes.
Because he was sneaking back in through the dog door.
Exactly.
At night.
So the reason I'm sharing this is, for the first time in my life, I'm changing a lock. I'm nervous that the guy's going to come back. I'm thankful the constable's there, but I'm sweating because there's no AC in the house, and it was like June or July.
Yeah.
And it took me forever. I kept apologizing to the constable, going, "I'm so sorry. Never changed the lock." He's like, take your time, take your time. It took me like an hour to change those locks on exterior door locks.
First tip number 1.
Yeah.
When you need to lock someone out, learn how to change a lock very quickly.
Or bring someone who can do it.
Yeah, really. Hire that out.
Yeah, I was thinking this can't be that hard. Well, when you don't know construction, never done it before. Since then, I've done it. Okay, so I've done it more, but that was the first time. Because I also lived in New York City for most of my adulthood life up until that point, and we had superintendents of the building who would take care of that stuff, right? So I just didn't ever do that. So
So now we've locked the person out, and we have to give him the 14 days to...
Before he remove his junk.
Yeah, to remove his junk. And technically, just for those of you listening, once we took possession of the house, we could have done whatever we wanted with his belongings, but we would have had to hold on to it for 14 days. So we could put it in a storage unit.
Move it, store it, then dispose it.
Take it to Jeff's house.
Yeah, throw it on my lawn.
So what we decided to do is just leave it in the house for 14 days.
That's right. Yeah, it was cheaper that way.
Exactly. And on that 15th day, then we have the legal right to do what we want with it. We can dispose of it as garbage, donate it to the DI, or wherever we want. And so it sat there for 14 days, and in this meantime, the guy was breaking back into that dog door. Yeah, every night.
Every night. Even during the remodel, in the first few weeks of the remodel.
That's right.
And we had to call a cop saying this guy's trespassing on our house and damaging things to get back in.
Exactly. So let's talk about now that 15th day. We have a dumpster arrive. We have the legal ability at this point to dispose of the stuff.
Correct.
And you hire a family.
My friend.
Yeah, your friend.
Yeah, lived down the street.
Who lived on the same block.
Been doing garbage and junk removal for me for years.
Yes.
Great dude. Great.
Yes.
Yeah. One of my pocket people that, like, one of my go-to cheap haul-off guys.
Yes. So he...
Big Tongan.
Yes. Yeah. Which is perfect.
Perfect. I like my big Tongans.
Yes.
Tony, if you're out there listening, you're the bomb.
Yeah. Exactly. And it was a perfect individual to have us help us, because long and behold, who shows up during this process, right?
Yeah.
Claiming, why are we throwing his stuff away? So I end up, neither of us are there, of course.
Right.
Tony's there emptying the house, putting everything in, and I got a call from the police that says, hey, Mr. Strachey, we've got a gentleman here saying that you're throwing away his stuff. And then I basically explained to him how we had the
rights to do this.
The rights to do it and the lockout. And I actually text him an image of the court order that we had the ability to do it. And at that point, he says, okay, that's all I need. And he stayed on the phone. He's like, okay, sir, Tony. And he was talking to Tony. He's like, sir, you can keep doing what you're doing. Sir, unfortunately, this is no longer your belongings. If you want to take it out of the trash, you're more than welcome to. Which he did. He started doing it, but I mean, he had, if you think about it, he had 2-3 months from the time that we purchased it through the whole eviction process to the whole lockout process to take that stuff.
Yeah.
But he literally...
He had 2.5 months.
2.5 months.
To get his stuff out and move and find a new place.
And he finally was doing it the day that Tony was throwing it into the trash. He was hurrying, loading up his pickup truck.
Yeah. And Tony came with his Tongan sons.
Yes. So that's why I'm saying it was very perfect to have that. It definitely didn't escalate,
And anything worse.
Anything worse, yeah. Okay, so
now we're on the remodel.
Yeah.
Now we can actually, 2.5 months after buying it, we actually could start the remodel.
Yes.
So, and you pretty much oversee the remodel. And were there any major issues in the remodel? I mean, we mentioned the foundation, which is non-existent.
Right.
So talk a little bit about what we did with the foundation that was missing underneath part of the house.
Yes. So what we had to do is we hired a structural engineer who came up and drew some plans to be able to support that back section. It was about 100 to 150 square feet of kitchen that literally was sitting on, like 6 rocks. Like someone put big, huge rocks on the ground and then put some 2x4s and then built up from there. And so the structural engineer came and drew out a plan on how we'd be able to pour foundation under the house and basically re-support the home, which took some time, and that was unexpected, and that was probably the biggest surprise, but not the end of the world. I believe it or not, have done something like that at a bigger magnitude with another local, a common friend of ours that we partnered
I know
up.
that house too.
Yes, that's right. Hashtag MMFA again. So this was actually super simple. We already knew what to do, but it's always nice to have the structural engineer come put together plans. Contractor just has to follow it.
Yeah.
So after that, it was pretty cut and dry.
But one of the key things is, when you, even before you start a remodel, you should really have all of these sort of subcontractors, at least a list.
Yes.
Because when you run into that, you don't want to have to spend time researching and finding good service providers, good contractors for things you might need. When you first get into the project, you're like, hey, you got to call my painter, my drywall guy, my finish carpenter. Yeah. But you're going to run into foundation issues or other things where you might need a specialist.
Right.
So have those lists done in advance, that you can just take out your phone and they're in your speed dial and you can call and say, hey, I've got this foundation problem.
Yeah.
Let's, can you come out here and get it taken care of? And the more the better relationship you have with those guys, they'll come out and do you the favor.
Absolutely.
And get it done quickly.
Yeah, and they'll squeeze you in. Like you said,
squeeze you
quickly.
in,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's the big thing is if you have a relationship, they'll come squeeze you in between. If they don't know you, you're 3 weeks out till they're caught up. You know?
And you're
in line.
hold.
Yeah.
You can't do anything else.
Exactly.
Until the
And now
foundation's done.
Exactly. So yeah, we took care of that foundation issue, and then after that was done, the rest of it was pretty cut and dry. The house was a solid house. It was a great house. There was one morning.
What was the square footage?
It was a smaller house. It was
2 bed, 1 bath.
2 bed, 1 bath, and I think it was around 900 square feet.
I do too.
Yeah. So nothing crazy.
Pretty standard for the area.
Yes.
In the Fair Park area of Salt Lake.
Exactly.
Great starter home.
Oh yeah. And it looked sick when it was done. It was so beautiful. It was the nicest house within a half a mile.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the early days of the gray-white color scheme.
Yes. Modern kind of gray-white color scheme was coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And we'd done that, and so that was super fresh. There was one morning, though, when I got a call from the contractor. He calls me up and says, hey, just I have a feeling someone's sleeping in your house. Now, I was thinking it was, the good old tenant that we had to evict. And I was like, what makes you say that? Why do you think someone's in there? He's like, because when I left, I had the blinds up, and now they're down. Right? And this was 7 a.m. So I was like, all right, I'll call the cops, and I'll come down so that, I can... Because the contractor didn't feel comfortable receiving the cops when they came because he didn't own the home.
Didn't own the home, right.
Yeah, so he's like, can you come? And I was like, sure. So I get to the house. The cops have been called. They tell me that when I called the cops that they were on a run to address something, and so it might be a while. I was in line, right? So mine wasn't an emergency.
Yeah.
So I get to the house, and me and the contractor are just kind of sitting out in the shade for about an hour. When the cops finally come, they show up. They said, what's the problem? I said, we think someone's inside. We've just purchased this home. We're getting ready to remodel it. Or we're in the middle of remodeling. So they said, okay, cool. I said, there's a key. We had the key. So here's the key. If you want to go in, you don't even have to break the door down. Sure enough, so 2 of them went in, and sure enough, they came out with the homeless guy who was sleeping in our house. So it wasn't the tenant, but it was another homeless guy. And I think it's because this house next door... The house next door to the house we owned was vacant. It was foreclosed.
I think so. I think it was.
And so a lot of homeless were sleeping in these vacant homes, and then they kind of just assumed ours was vacant because no one was there at the night. But then, of course, we show up in the morning and we're ready to work. So kind of interesting learning experience. They handcuffed him, brought him out, gave him a ticket, and then let him go. And I'm thinking, like, what address did you put on that ticket? Right?
Yeah, ours.
yeah, exactly. Don't put my address. You know he's not paying that. Don't come after me.
He's not our tenant.
Yeah, exactly. So off he went, just walked, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. Because I don't know the law, and so I thought he was going to jail. And they're like, nah, we just let them go. And so, anyways, he took off.
And didn't he keep coming back and then start sleeping in the shed?
Yes. So then we had a shed in the backyard.
We sealed off the house. We couldn't get in there.
Yes. And then our contractor started informing us that they were now sleeping in the shed. Yes.
The joys.
Exactly. And at some point through this transaction, here's a learning experience that I picked up on this transaction 6 years ago is our AC unit that, is about $1,500 to $2,000 at the time had been stolen. It was connected in the back of the house, and I'd never had one stolen, so I never worried about it. I kind of just had them thrown in when the HVAC guy shows up, right? Now, they're the last things I install. After that learning lesson, we remodeled the whole house. We have the HVAC guy come and wire it all, but then once the house is under contract and the house is ready to close, then we actually put the AC unit in the back.
And attach it.
Yeah.
Because it can be detached.
It can be detached, yeah.
And hauled off.
Exactly, which is what happened. And so now my learning experience is don't put that in until you're under contract. Yeah. But then here's what else I learned is I called, I don't know if you remember, you and I were chatting and we're like, let's call our insurance agent. Yes. And
to see if it's covered.
Exactly, who's a mutual friend of ours.
Great guy.
And he informs me that because it's an exterior product, it is not covered.
On a non-owner occupied insurance policy.
Exactly, on a non-owner occupied insurance policy. So had it been inside...
Or should I say vacant.
Yes.
Vacant house insurance policy.
Exactly. Had it been in the home, it would have been covered. But because it was outside, it wasn't covered. So we had to eat that cost and buy a new one. Yeah. Okay, so at this point, we've now had squatters multiple times.
Meth
in the
heads.
house. Yes.
Evictions, cops.
Exactly. Cops, stolen AC unit,
units.
extra cost.
Foundations that were non-existent.
Exactly. And people sleeping in our shed. The shed, and when we say shed, guys, it was a big shed.
Yeah. Almost like a workspace shed.
Yes, it was a big shed in the back, and so then we started coming and realizing there were mattresses in the shed, and okay, so they've moved from the house to the shed now, and of course, this becomes a problem when you go to sell it if you have people occupying your house.
Yeah, when an agent shows a prospective buyer and some homeless man is walking out of your shed.
Yes, exactly, half naked, and that doesn't go well. And
That doesn't go well.
So this is a part of this is part of Fair Park where they have the back alleys. For those of you who are familiar with that area, a lot of the off-street parking is actually in the backyard. You have this little kind of off...
Many parts of Salt Lake. The older parts of Salt Lake are all like that.
That's
with
true.
alleys off the back.
Alleys off the back. So everyone pretty much will park in their backyard through this back alley, and most people have a fence in their back alley to keep, obviously, the riffraff out. And we didn't have a fence.
We did not.
So we now put a fence.
We put in a fence.
And believe it or not, that fence actually stopped the homeless people from sleeping in their shed.
Yeah.
Because, it's just a little boundary. And
they typically go for whatever's easiest.
Yes. So at this point, we are going through the remodeling process. Outside of the foundation, I think our biggest headache was keeping our contractors in a safe working environment because they were afraid to show up in the morning and have another person sleeping there.
Yeah.
But I would say once the house was like completely demoed, because we removed walls, trimmed in walls, it really then did deter the homeless people from sleeping in that particular house because it's just dusty and there's a lot of nails sticking out. It's all kind of dangerous. And then they started moving to the next vacant house.
To the next vacant house.
Yes.
Yeah, they just moved on.
Yes, exactly. So once demo was officially wrapped, or officially full-fledged, blown, into it, then, like I said, they went from the house to the shed, but then they kind of just stopped.
It went pretty smoothly from there, if I remember correctly. Yeah,
it did go smoothly. Okay, so we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then when we come back, we're going to kind of share with. Well, not kind of. We're going to share with you.
We will share with you.
Yeah, we will
tell
share
you exactly what this cost and what we made on it.
Exactly. All right, Mohammed, take us to commercial, please. With smartphones and technology making life a little easier, the Snap Leash has also been designed to make life a little easier for you and your pup. Whether you're out on a stroll in the park, or possibly a walk through the city, or maybe even a hike up in the mountains, the Snap Leash is the perfect leash for you. The Snap Leash can easily and conveniently convert into 7 types of leashes, making the Snap Leash the most convenient leash in the world. What other leash do you know that is 7 leashes in one? With the Snap Leash having appearances on the Today Show in New York City, TV 47 in Dallas, Texas, and ABC 4 on Midday, Utah, you are definitely going to want to take a peek at what the Snap Leash can do for you and your best friend. Make life a little easier for you and your pup and visit www.snapleash.com today. All right, we are back. You are listening to K-Talk Radio, 1640 AM. I am your host, Yoshi Shiraki. This is the show, Utah, Home Sweet Home, and our guest is Jeff Breglio.
How you doing?
Hey. Okay.
We're back.
We're back. So we're talking about...
And what an awesome commercial. What a great product, that Snap Leash.
Thank you.
Who owns that Snap Leash?
I don't know. Some creative individual invented that thing.
Yeah. Some smart, good-looking guy.
Yeah. Thank you. Awesome. So... Now we are going to dive into some of the numbers on what this all looked like. So, that's kind of the story. Obviously, the remodeling process just kind of went smooth.
Yeah.
We have our contractors.
Other than the foundation and the homeless people,
Yep.
It was a pretty straightforward remodel.
Exactly, and the theft of the AC unit.
AC unit. There were a lot of learning things on this project.
There were.
That's why it's so fun.
Yes, that's why it's so fun. And it's probably I'm thinking it might have been the only home that I've dealt with squatters in. I'm trying to think if there were other houses. There was a house that I looked at.
I've had issues with evictions, but not this bad.
Yeah.
Not this time consuming.
Yes.
Yeah, typically an eviction in Utah is 2 to 4 weeks.
Right.
If you have real problems, it could be actually 2 to 2.5 months.
Right,
so
got it.
You need to plan. You need to know the eviction rules.
Yes.
The timing, etc. And it's not something that, I kind of knew that, but I didn't really think about it because I didn't think about how it played into my costs.
Yeah.
And had I and this is what I learned is, the more you're conscious of things at the outset before you actually do anything.
Right.
And I thought about when we were under contract and we were renegotiating, get that price lower for the MEF.
Yeah.
But I thought, wait a minute, we have to. This guy's not leaving, so
Yeah.
we're going to go through eviction. Let's see if we can close it on like the 14th
Right.
of a month, so we can serve that 15-day pay or vacate.
Yes.
And get them out in 2 weeks rather than waiting the 6 weeks because we
Yep.
ran it in the next month.
Exactly.
Again, advanced planning is so critical.
So critical. It's so, and we were lucky our hard money was cheap at
Yeah.
this point. $30,000.
It was only $30,000.
Yeah, but that's so true because if you're buying a $350,000 house to flip,
That month,
oh my gosh,
that could be, yeah.
3,500 to 4,000 depending on your
Extra
hard money.
cost just because of the eviction.
And if your eviction takes 6 weeks to 8 weeks, you're
Yeah.
$7,000 in the hole right there. Negative.
Absolutely.
And on hard money. So
Education and learning.
yes, planning your closing date relative to your eviction, knowing you're going to have to evict. There's a great tip that Jeff just shared. Yeah, awesome. Okay.
Awesome.
So, trying to think if there were any other good stories along the way. I think, just a bunch of squatters, but homeless people squatting in the house. And
Yeah, but the pizza delivery guy's still the best.
yes,
I will tell that story until I die.
That is so great. I didn't know
creative.
that. Yeah, that was incredibly creative. I did not know. And really, at that point, we still weren't involved in the transaction. He was still
No.
on his own.
Yeah, he was still negotiating with the seller at a lower price. We sort of knew that he was going to
Yeah.
bring us the deal.
Yeah.
But we were not involved at that point in any negotiation with the seller.
Right.
And he talked to me. He's like, well, I'm not going to be able to get in.
Yeah.
And we're like, well, I don't know. Try being a pizza guy. Knock on the door and just say, hi, I'm a neighbor. I want to. He goes, no, that maybe not work. He goes, I think it was his idea. He's like, maybe I'll just be a pizza delivery. I'm like, try it.
Yeah.
Try it. See if it works.
Very brave of him.
Very brave of him.
Yeah.
He's a bigger guy.
He is a bigger dude. Yes. He could definitely take care of himself.
Yeah.
And I didn't know he used to box.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, he told me he used to box. So side relevant. He probably felt
he had probably no problem going into a house.
Yeah. Right. Okay, so now we're going to dive into the numbers. Jeff, you've got those written down. So do you want to share,
So on the sales side,
Yep.
I think your wife
Yes.
was the listing agent.
Yes.
And she did take a fee,
Yep.
and that was part of our arrangement in
Yes.
the deal. And again, that's kind of our joint venture partnering that we had knocked out earlier.
Right.
So we listed it traditionally, through a real estate agent.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't listed very long because
No.
it was great. It's great price, great starter home, and we locked it under contract for about $130,000.
Yeah, less than a week. It was on the market.
Yeah, less than a week. We got it under contract for $130,000. So our purchase price was $30,000.
Mm-hmm.
Wholesale fee was $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
Our rehab budget was $30,000,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we came in about $29,000 or so.
Yeah, we were just under it.
Just under $30,000, and then we had about $15,000 in purchase and sale, closing costs, real estate commissions, and hard money costs.
Mm-hmm.
Now, first thing you need to understand is this was about 5-6 years ago.
Yes.
So do not compare those numbers to today's numbers. So
Exactly.
everything is relative.
Yes.
We were into it, total cost at $90,000.
Nice.
And we sold it for $130,000.
That's fantastic.
So we made a $40,000 profit on a $30,000 purchase and a $30,000 rehab budget.
It's amazing. It's amazing because, there are people that are making $40,000 profits flipping $400,000 houses.
Yeah.
Right. And you're leveraging a lot of risk when you're doing a $400,000 house. A lot
Right.
of money, a lot of risk, and your return's $40,000. And that's not a bad return. That's 10%.
Yeah.
However, we made $40,000 on a $30,000 house. That's what was so
Do you
amazing.
have a rule of thumb, Yoshi, in your flips? Like, if you're going to put in this much in rehab, how much you want out?
Yeah, my rule of thumb basically was shared with me from a mentor by the name of Randall Wall, who's my broker as well.
Awesome dude.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Friend of ours. Local.
Super experienced.
Yeah. And he shared with me a long time ago that whatever you put into your project, so if you, as far as your repairs, that should equal your profit.
That's my
So
my rule of thumb too.
If you put in $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 in repair, then your profit should be 40, whatever,
Pretty
50 or
close to
60.
that.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can certainly do deals with a smaller margin, but
Yeah.
the smaller that margin, the question you have to ask yourself, is it worth my time at that point?
Exactly.
And the risk.
Yes.
The bigger the rehab, the bigger the potential for cost overruns, delays, extra expenses, and that
Exactly.
profit margin will shrink very quickly.
Exactly. And he did share that saying, it is a flexible rule of thumb. It's just a good rule of thumb to stay safe.
Yeah, everyone has their own rules of thumb.
Yeah.
Right? That just happens to be ours.
Exactly, and I really like it. And you talked about the bigger the project, the more risk. If it's a smaller project, where I'm not going to do a ton to it, and maybe it costs me 26, 27, maybe even 30,000 to fix it up. It's very, very cut and dry, nothing crazy, no foundation issues. And it's a smaller house. I'd probably be content making, well, I would be content, not probably. I'm content making 20, you know what I mean, on a small project. Even if I'm putting 30, I don't have to make 30, because if I'm putting 30 into it and I make 20, I'm still pretty happy about that.
Yeah, usually those are much easier projects.
Yes.
Now these days, in 2019, 2020, you're probably not going to be even a 900 square foot remodel for $30,000.
Exactly.
So again, you just have to just understand your market, understand the current pricing and costs, and what contractors and materials and everything are costing. You've got to keep up on that stuff.
You've got to keep up.
It makes a huge deal. And if you haven't done a flip even in 6 months, go out and re-research the cost of things before you run your numbers.
Exactly. Lumber's like gas, right? Like one day it's cheap and the next day it's expensive. Like the next day.
Concrete's the same way.
Yeah. So you really need to, like, great advice. If you haven't done a flip in 6 months and you're
trying to estimate costs.
Exactly. It could be completely different. Especially in this hot market, because materials have gone up, but also labor's gone up because they're not hungry for work. They're so busy.
Yeah.
And so I'll have contractors tell me all the time that, these are friends of mine that luckily I have this relationship that I've established long time ago, where they kind of grandfather me into the good deal price, right? But they'll tell me, like, I am so busy. I'm bidding like astronomically high because I don't care if I get the job, and they get the job. Yeah, and so they're just like killing it right now.
Yeah, great time to be a contractor.
Yeah, good time to be a contractor. So, in that particular case, it worked out really well because we were able to make $40,000 that we split, both ways. And
really, how much time did we actually put into that?
Very, very little.
Exactly. If any.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was kind of a guide. You were kind of a guide.
Yeah.
We had our people in place.
Yes.
The deal was brought to us. I put up 30, made 20 in a few months.
Yep.
Not bad.
Not bad, yeah.
No.
And you probably spent the least amount of time, because I would go to the project to meet the cops and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But
I would swing by on occasion just to check on it and see how I was doing. And I would go over with the associate, the wholesaler, who wanted to talk about things. And explain why we did this or that.
Yeah. So great return.
Yeah.
A great return on time and money, and they're not all that way, but this turned out to be a good one, and we thought we'd share from A to Z, because it had a lot of fun stories.
We did.
Not all the projects have fun stories like that.
Right. How much time do we got, Yosh?
We still about 15 minutes
left.
We did. 12 minutes.
12 minutes, okay.
12 minutes into there. So now we basically, when we listed this, one of the things that we did, because it was a 2-bedroom, so kind of a good rule of thumb that shared another mentor / friend, and I'll say his name this time. I've been hashtagging him along the show, but Matt Atkinson, a long time ago, shared with me that if the house may have trouble selling due to size, in this case it was smaller than 1,000 square feet, or due to, let's say, you don't remodel it completely, so it's not the most beautiful house in the neighborhood, his rule of thumb to me was you should stage it. You should always stage it, right? And although we were the most beautiful house in the neighborhood now, at this point, it was just gorgeous.
In that part of town, we were early in the gentrification.
Exactly.
Which is one of the reasons we got that house so cheaply.
Right.
Even probably 6 months later, homes were probably 90 to 100,000, even as a flip project.
Yes.
Because that area was sort of ripe.
Exactly.
So the wholesaler was really, really smart in his marketing.
Yes.
So he located a part of town that really investors hadn't found yet.
Right.
It's just kind of the Rose Park, Fair Park, down, and you get down to sort of the South Temple, then Glendale and Poplar Grove.
Yep.
That I think a lot of investors were a little bit scared of in those days, 5-6 years ago, because they were scared that on the turnaround flip, you have to worry about this on your flips. What kind of market do I have on the sale?
Yeah. Who's going to buy this?
If I do a nice remodel, I make it a pretty home.
Yeah.
Am I going to get buyers? They're going to pay me my top dollar in this neighborhood.
Yes.
And so early neighborhoods in gentrification are riskier because you may do a great job, you may get a great purchase price, but then you can't get a buyer,
right?
Because no one wants to be the first to move into that neighborhood.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And we were lucky. And remember what kind of buyer we actually ended up finding who actually bought it?
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, it was like a younger, in her 20s, single gal.
Single gal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who fell in love with the design and the remodel, and it was, again, it was gorgeous inside.
And I remember being a little bit scared. Like, we're selling this to a single mom. And it wasn't bad. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not a bad neighborhood. But it's certainly a neighborhood that was turning over.
Exactly, yeah.
And
I think she was a single gal. I don't think she was a mother. I mean, if I said single mom, sorry. I think she was just a single gal.
Single gal.
Yeah.
Did we put in an alarm system?
We did. Yeah. We put in an alarm system during the remodel for us, but then we kept it for her. We just left it in place.
Yeah, and I think that was a great little... I don't think a lot of flippers put in alarms.
Yeah.
Systems.
Yep.
And we actually did, knowing the neighborhood and knowing the market, and that we needed to sell this, and we wanted additional securities for our future buyer.
Exactly. Yep. Absolutely. One actually thing that made it a little, because the ARV back there on a cute home to a really sick home like ours,
we did.
at that square footage was anywhere from 90,000 to about 115. We pushed it at 100.
We did push it.
Yeah, because we were the most beautiful house. And there were a couple like 120 and stuff like that. But on average, our ARV we thought conservatively would be 90 to 115, right? And then we ended up getting 130. The market had gone up a little bit over the time. So just so as listeners are listening to this, that's the cost of that neighborhood back then, is $90,000. Too bad we didn't buy every house.
I know. What were we thinking?
What we're thinking.
Yeah, I would have bought the block.
No kidding. And
lessons learned.
Lessons learned. Seriously. But another cool thing about that, one of our best comps. I don't know if you remember this. So next door to the west was a vacant house, which is and that was kind of made a lot of homeless people. And then next door to that was just another random house. But then next door to that was Riley Rogers and Matt Atkinson's flip. They partnered on that.
That's right. I remember that.
Yeah. And so our comps we were pulling, we were
Let's say they followed us to the neighborhood.
Yes.
We were the pioneers.
Right. So we had, there was a little bit nerve-wracking because you're wondering who's going to be able to buy it, who wants to live in this neighborhood, who's going to buy it. We made it as cute of a product as possible. But luckily, at that price point for 130, we sold it for 130 and it appraised perfectly.
Yep.
There was just nothing in the market at that price point at all, anywhere in all of Salt Lake County.
Yeah.
Right? We had the cutest house.
And
that affordable. Exactly. So, turns out...
And we were also playing the market.
Yeah.
And one thing you have to really be aware of is what is the market doing? Now, this was sort of a couple of years post-big recession.
Yes.
And so we knew prices would be increasing.
Yes.
Right? And I was pretty confident that, whether the remodel took us 3 months or 6 months, the prices were going to continue going up.
Yes.
We didn't bank on that, though.
Correct.
Right? Our initial dollar numbers and our analysis were what we would get it for at the day we bought it.
Yeah.
If we had to sell this in 24 hours, what price would we get?
Right.
So we didn't fudge our numbers assuming we would get some greater value due to market appreciation.
Yep.
But we were lucky enough that the market did appreciate, which during the time of the year and in this market cycle, that numbers would be going up.
Exactly.
Do you think you would do that now?
No. I don't know if the market's going to be going up much longer.
6 to 12 months out down the road.
Yeah, definitely would not be doing that. And as you said that, I think we had this was unknown to the foundation. I think we were like, okay, if we go in, we'll probably put in just off that square footage 20 to 25. What if we make 20, 25? And I think that's
right. That's our initial numbers.
Yeah, dollar per dollar, like we talked about earlier. $25,000 into the remodel, $25,000 into our net profit, but then it ended up costing us $30,000 because of the foundation.
The foundation and the homeless issues and the evictions increased our costs by $5,000 or $6,000.
Yes, but then thankfully the market went up.
Our market went up, and our profit margin increased.
Yes, so
a little bit of luck.
Yeah, a little bit of luck. All things that are unpredictable and out of your control, right? We couldn't control.
Well, I like to call it controlled luck.
Yes,
controlled risk.
Yes, exactly.
We all take risk in real estate.
Yeah.
But it's controlling the risk factors.
Exactly.
Right? And so we knew the market, so we knew that we would definitely not be in a depreciating market.
Right.
We knew at least that.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And any extra was just bonus.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, too, I think we even talked about that. If it didn't sell, we could stay on we had an alarm, right?
Yeah.
Not that that's going to hurt everybody, but... we could. Our costs were so minimal that it didn't kill us to hold it if we had to hold it. But we sold it in under contract in less than 7 days. And the worst case scenario is we could have rented it out and cash flowed because of our acquisition and investment into it.
Yeah,
Was so
even with a hard money loan,
yes,
we could have cash flowed on a rental.
Yes, exactly.
Which is pretty an amazing concept.
Exactly. So, and I bring that up because controlled risk. I mean,
Right.
there was risk, but man, that we were covered.
We were covered.
It was super controlled.
Because we thought about what might happen in the future if certain events occurred.
Exactly. And luckily we were smart enough to kind of play all those, you have plan A, but then what if plan A doesn't work? You got plan B.
And plan C. And
Exactly. And in this case, man, we were totally covered.
Yep.
And then on top of all of that, I don't know if you remember, we staged the property, which is...
We did stage it.
Yeah, which made... For those, like again, going back to Mac Atkinson, if you have a house that might have a little challenges, and we didn't know if it'd have challenges because it was pretty, but we thought because of the size we might.
Yeah.
But man, when we staged it, the buzz on that house was incredible. People loved
looked
it.
awesome.
Yeah. Furniture was great. The house looked great.
And the staging costs are not expensive.
No.
But a lot of it is because, that's going to eat in $500 or $800.
Yeah.
Of my profit. Don't play that game.
Right.
Don't play that game of trying to nickel and dime everything, or go for the highest, sales price that you can get.
Yep.
Especially when you got high hard money costs and hold costs. The very first lesson I learned from my first mentor, and this was back in 1999 or 2000, was take the deal and move to the next.
Yeah.
Take the money and run.
Right.
Don't hold out for the perfect buyer, perfect price, or try and skimp here and there.
Yep.
Get it done, do it right, take your profit, go to the next deal.
Yep. I love that. Because, holding on, let's say you make $1,000 more by waiting, but you waited a month and your mortgage was $1,500.
Yeah.
You just lost $500.
Or you pass on another deal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You didn't have the time for.
Exactly. Or the money to leverage to go do something that was going to make you 40 on the next one. Yeah. Absolutely. Kind of a little tip that I figured out along the way is I ended up buying staging furniture. I waited till 4th of July, and then I went to RC Willey because everything's on sale, and bought a lot of cute, my wife came with me and bought a lot of cute staging furniture. And the tricky thing about owning staging furniture, it's great because you don't have to pay a stager anymore, but the tricky thing about it is furniture goes out of style in about 5 years, right?
Yeah.
So you own that staging furniture, and then 5 years later, styles have changed, and now you
good.
Yeah, and so staging companies are constantly buying the newest, latest furniture to make these houses pop. So we use that staging furniture for entry-level homes now. We can no longer use it for high-end homes because it's now kind of dated for that. It still looks good in your Fair Park house, right? Or kind of entry-level home.
Right.
But
if you're selling on the East Bench with this,
Yes.
an ARV of 800,000,
yes,
you want a different kind of style.
Exactly. Yeah, and probably even in the 400 price range, my staging furniture probably wouldn't even be the best staging furniture anymore because it's now 5+ years old.
Right.
So, but if you're flipping little kind of entry-level homes, it can be a good investment. On a big, huge sale, go and purchase a bunch of staging furniture. I know quite a few investors that have a little inventory of staging furniture, kind of bare necessities.
And tchotchkes and things that you can throw around.
Exactly, just to kind of make it pop.
Right.
Okay, so let's see. Anything else that we
Can
need
you tell
to touch
about what
on?
we're going to be doing starting in January?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so REI Master U and Utah Home Sweet Home.
Yep.
The two of us, we're going to partner up,
Yep.
and we're going to do deals A to Z.
Yes.
And we're going to bring in some of the top investors in town.
Yes.
Our first series is going to be 8 sessions of 30 to 40 minute vlogs, I guess, video content, and we're going to let these investors take us through one deal from acquisition, negotiations, contracting, hard money loans, or however they financed it, to how they remodeled or got it rent ready, whatever their goal was, to sales and disposition, so that you can see a deal in detail with true numbers and true reality, with a little bit of a tip, a little nugget of information on each of those steps that you can take away and learn from experienced investors on a real, actual deal.
And that is so incredibly valuable.
Absolutely.
Because you hear people say, I flipped this house, I bought it for this, and I sold it for that.
I made it, and
Yeah.
well, how did you find it?
Yeah, how'd you find it? How'd you fund it?
Yeah.
Exactly.
How did you analyze the numbers?
Yes.
Why did this deal make sense and not that deal?
Exactly. Yep. So that's super exciting. You guys are going to have to stay tuned for that.
Coming in January.
Yep. Awesome. So we are at the end of our show, Jeff. How can people find you?
You can just go to reimasteryou.com.
Perfect. All right, guys, this is K-Talk Radio, 1640 AM. I'm your host, Yoshi Shiraki. This is the show, Utah Home Sweet Home. You have been listening in on some really cool stuff on A to Z on a real estate transaction. I hope you guys all have a spectacular rest of the day, and thanks for listening.
Thanks.
Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm Yoshi Shiraki, the host of the real estate show, Utah Home Sweet Home, which airs every Saturday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. on K-Talk Radio 1640 a.m. I'm also the host of the show, $1 Million Home Sweet Home, where we tour $1 million homes right here in this beautiful state of Utah. I'm also a real estate agent, a real estate investor. I fix and flip houses, and I'm also a national public speaker. And on this channel, we're going to talk everything real estate as well as everything Utah, because this beautiful state has a lot to offer. And if you're looking to get to know more about real estate and real estate investing, or just purchasing your very first owner-occupied home, you've come to the right place.